Welcome to Impolite MTG.
Where we're going to talk about Magic the Gathering.
And we're not always going to be nice about it.
I'm Galazeth, Chris Mari. I wish I thought of that. Oh, that's staying in there, by the way.
Hey, I'm Dave, Guru S'mores.
Hey, welcome back to part 2 of our 3-part series on Maro's State of Design article.
Yeah, Chris really ran his mouth on that last one. So much editing!
So, last time we planeswalked back to Zendikar and then got lost in a Marvel movie.
Yeah, about two angry lesbians fighting over a rock or some shit.
I don't think that's quite right, Dave. But yeah, anyways, this time we're going back to school, and then if there's time, we're going to go get lost in a dungeon where there may or may not be some dragons.
Good God, you Canadians certainly like to dance around the point. We're going to Strixhaven and AFR.
Yeah, where are we going next here, Dave?
We are going to the illustrious Wizarding School of Strixhaven.
Oh, this is the one that makes Storm players happy, right?
Yeah, it's also the Harry Potter set without being Harry Potter because, oh no, J.K. Rowling said some things we don't agree with, so quick, let's rush over the set and pull out all the Harry Potter references, even though they're plain as day when you actually look at the Magic cards.
Yeah, it's not like Wizarding schools are unique to Harry Potter, though. I mean, it's been a popular trope in fantasy novels.
True, but we did actually know through some leaked documents and stuff that they were actually going to do like a Harry Potter tie-in, like Secret Lair.
Yeah, so what do you think about this big complaint that the college was too much like American college system?
Oh, fuck off. It's an American company making a game for the whole world. It's going to be a bunch of Americans making it. It can be ethnocentric or this or that. Or I thought that was such a dumbass complaint. Look, if the world works differently where you live, fine. But most people who live in other countries are used to American culture dominating their own culture anyways. American pop culture is so prolific that, honestly, I don't think most people care.
There were a lot of complaints, though, about this, where it really does portray a Western college rather than an Eastern college. They even said, the whole premise for this Wizarding college was based around UK school systems.
Yeah.
So people thinking it's American, I mean, that's just kind of how Western colleges look, from my understanding.
So, yeah,
we should probably talk about the colleges themselves here, since, we're on this little tangent. Do we want to start with the best or the worst?
I don't know. What do you think is the worst?
I personally think Quandrix is the worst.
Quandrix is Simic back in his junior high school days when it was the weird kid sitting at the back of the classroom playing with its +1/+1 counters.
And picking its nose. Yeah, honestly, Quandrix feels like a departure from what we want to see in Simic. It feels very much awkward. It feels uncomfortable with itself. Power and toughness matters is cool, and I like the fact it kind of symmetrical power and toughness.
Yeah.
That's unique, but it's still just +1/+1 counters at the end of the day here.
Yeah, it just ended up being Simic back in 2013.
Yeah, I think we should discuss Silverquill next here because I know it is probably the second worst of all the things that came out of this set.
Yeah, and as second worst to me, that doesn't mean I just don't have anything fantastic to say about Silverquill.
I mean, it's politics as a mechanic, if you like.
Yeah, it's politics as a mechanic, which is nice to see, but we already get a lot of that out of our commander play and the commander precon. So to me, it was just more of that, and that's neat. Yeah, it's just it's this weird thing to try and do in a premiere set, and then the commander decks, it makes it work a little better. But it being the second worst school, it's just bland. I just don't have a ton of things to say about it. Let's move on to the next one. Would you say Witherbloom is probably the next best one after Silverquill?
Yeah, I would say Witherbloom is in the top 3 here.
Okay. Yeah, it was a nice change of pace from the Golgari graveyard gimmick.
I think Orzhov got too much of the life gain thing, and it's nice to see Witherbloom kind of take that back from Orzhov a little bit.
Sure. When I originally saw these, I'm like, oh, wow, these are flipped. Why are they flipped? That's dumb. Did somebody just screw up the name in the file system? And then I saw how they actually did it. I'm like, oh, all right, that makes sense. And then, the pest thing, it was cool. Oh, they're cute. Plex is adorable. The problem is when you throw excessive life gain into a limited format, you run into problems. Food tokens. So
I will say this, Beladros is a beautiful inclusion here. I mean...
Man, that thing really shook things up.
You can do Storm in 2 colors that don't normally storm. That's incredible to me.
Right. The synergy of, okay, you can sack all your little pesting dudes, gain some life, and then, you can use that life to just untap all your lands and just keep going.
Drop a Shia in your commander deck, and all of a sudden you have all your creatures untapping too.
It's an interesting corner that they found for Witherbloom to play in.
From the goth kids to the drama kids that said to Prismari.
Yeah, this is your wheelhouse, buddy, because I just didn't care, didn't pay attention to it, don't give a shit, not my cup of tea.
I'll keep this short and sweet then. Prismari is just more of what Izzet likes to do, but now it has a certain artistic je ne sais quoi to it. It's just fun storm mechanics. It has really cool interactions with the Spells Matter theme of the set, which it was really, really nice to see this.
Yeah, it was nice to see spells matter across all the colors instead of just, okay, we're on Ravnica. All right, the Izzet players are the ones who care about the spells. All right, fine, whatever. It was nice to see everybody get Magecraft.
Yeah, Prismari is really, really fun as a faction goes in this set. The artistic theme of it, I identify as a Prismari player. I quite like being creative. I like combos, and this is where like the artistic side of red and blue come in.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think that's all we need to say about Prismari, and we could probably talk about the new version of Boros.
Yeah, Lorehold. Talk about a renaissance.
What an upgrade.
Yeah, talk about just coming out of your shell and blossoming into a beautiful, beautiful thing.
You think anyone saw Lorehold coming?
No,
like what
and
it
it's
does?
like it's so perfect for what red and white wants to do, and it's just not.
It cares about artifacts.
Yeah.
But not only that though, like graveyard recursion in red and white, that's so bizarre to me.
Well, so I actually like it because red just chucks things into the graveyard, and it's like used to playing things out of exile and stuff. It's like, I'll chuck it in the graveyard, whatever, I don't care. And then white is getting more of that like recursion stuff where it's like, we're going to dig up history. Think about all the way back to the early days of Magic, Argovian archaeologist. It makes sense from a flavor point that white cares about its history and as a way to learn. So
the red side of it kind of like takes you to the Indiana Jones type character, which is a really cool archetype.
Yeah, it almost seems like two contradictory ideas. And we saw this with like Quintorius, field historian. There's this flavor where like he flunks out because he's more interested in this one side of what Lorehold wants to do and not the other side. And so they're opposing ideas coming together, and I like that. I think that is a good idea to show those kind of things in the enemy color cycles.
I agree.
So we got some new keywords in Strixhaven. We got Learn, Magecraft, and Ward. Let's talk about Magecraft, because we already touched on that a little bit.
Magecraft gives the set the Spells Matter theme. It's super, super cool to see it in colors that don't normally get it.
It is nice to see. Yeah, like I said, in Ravnica, Izzet was, okay, there's the one that cares about the spells. Okay, right, fuck off, we don't care. Here it's like, okay, everybody gets to play with their spells, and so you get to play a spell slinger deck in other colors that aren't normally like that. I have a Wart the Raid Mother deck, right?
Yep.
It's a goblin tribal deck, but where it doesn't run a absolute crap ton of goblins, and it's very evenly divided between how many goblins I have and how many spells I have. So it's nice to see, not just red and blue be the spell slinger deck. I would actually argue that Magecraft was best in the black stuff. All the black cards we got were fantastic Spells Matters stuff.
Yeah, I understand that. I do think that Prismari kind of won here.
Well, that's just your own bias. I'm sorry. You had Liliana, who has Magecraft. You had Sedgemoor Witch. Like, there was just a lot of really good black Magecraft cards in this set. You're biased to Prismari because you're a Storm player. It's the classic, example of it makes what's already there better, but I would argue that the black Magecraft cards are better because it gave something new to somebody else.
The thing is, though, Blue got introduced to two very, very powerful cards that care about spells. Archmage Emeritus.
Yes.
As well as Stormkiln Artist.
Stormkiln Artist is fantastic. Yeah,
the other card that got introduced in the Commander set for Strixhaven, Baron Voice of Duality, is incredible. This is why I think Prismari walked away with the best Magecraft cards.
But see, that's why we're going to have to disagree there, because for me, it's like when Morphon came out. Morphon just made the already good tribal decks better, but he made the tribes with no commander an option. And that's what I'm trying to
Here's
say
the thing,
here.
though. I think the best answer is actually Grixis walked away with the best shit in Magecraft.
Sure, yeah. If you want to really throw all of them together, that basically brings our points together. I just personally think that it's better to give other colors things they didn't already have. Okay, explore another part of your color identity through casting spells. Rather than you're like, all right, here's more is it bullshit, do more isn't bullshit. Nothing wrong with doing is it bullshit. It was already a well-established archetype.
Can we just agree, though, that green got the shaft here with their best...
Yeah,
well, best green Magecraft card being Dragon Guard Elite.
Yeah. Green did get the shaft, but here's the thing. Green doesn't really need to keep getting everything. I'm okay. I say this as a green player. Green kind of needs to get the shaft on certain things a little bit. I don't know who is managing everything on the green side of things at Wizards, but I have a sneaking suspicion that they have a lot of power within the company. Green is just getting everything, and there's a general consensus that green is the best color in Commander, and it's because it's gotten so much good stuff that it's far and away the better color.
I do think there are some lessons to learn here, and we should be moving on to exactly that.
For sure.
Lessons in learning.
Yes.
They're crap in Commander, let's be honest here. The two mechanics are crap.
Yeah, they just don't work in Commander. There's really not much to say. Not worth talking about. Let's just move on.
I think we should go on to Ward then.
Yeah, Ward is the light beer of hexproof. There are aspects I like about it, but there's a major, major problem with it as well.
I do like the fact that it's tax the table to keyword. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's really nice. I also really like the fact that they tried to dial up and dial down hexproof. All right, well, this thing has Ward 1. All right, well, I just got to pay 1 extra to tell your thing to fuck off. Or then you have the Terras, which is like, it's Ward 10. That might as well just say hexproof.
Yeah, but it's super cool to see something with Ward 10, or Octavia has Ward 8.
Yeah.
Both are, like, really satisfying if you pull off an infinite mana combo and just kind of Assassin's Trophy it.
Yeah. Like, I'm going to pay the 8 mana to still tell your thing to fuck off. And, like, it's a nice commander flex.
Oh, totally. And it's a really cool, like, bragging right after the game. Like,
yeah.
I had enough mana to do this to you. Like, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah. But the overwhelming problem with Ward is it doesn't read like hexproof. Hexproof turns off your brain's targeting system for that permanent. It goes, all right, it's hexproof, I can't hit it. I have to do other things until I can do that. Ward, unfortunately, doesn't do that because it doesn't say you can't target it. It just says that you have to pay more to do so. And so you run into the problem where you're doing things, you're playing a game of Magic and stuff, like, oh, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to target all these different things. Oh, well, you can't because it has Ward 4.
Do you mind if I interrupt you for a second here?
Yeah, what's up?
Can I point out that Sedgemoor Witch has Ward 3 life? Any other format, that might be a big deal, but in this one, I'll pay the 3 life every day. I got 40 life to kick about here.
Yeah, exactly. So it doesn't scale well into Commander when you make it like that. I was playing a game where Neverwinter Hydra came down, and he was huge. He paid like 14 mana for this thing, the 12 mana for X, and then the 2 green. And he rolled all his dice, and it became a 21-21. It was gross. It was scary. I'm like, oh, crap, right? And then I follow up by playing a Molten Primordial, thinking, all right, I can take it. Because it's like, what is this thing? A bunch of this stuff, a bunch of this stuff, a bunch of this stuff. Oh, by the way, it also has Ward 4. The Ward 4 gets buried underneath the brick of text. You know,
I agree.
The mental bandwidth. I play Molten Primordial, and I'm like, okay, take the Hydra, take this, take that, and we're all going through it, and then he's like, wait, that has Ward 4, and I'm like, look down, I'm like, and I was tapped out, so it's like, fuck, all right, because it's like, well, if I can't take that, that kind of negates everything I was trying to do, because I was trying to take it, and I was going to swing it into a guy who had Death Touch.
Yeah.
And we literally just had to blank the whole resolution of that trigger. It's a problem in the sense that it doesn't mechanically read in the brain like Hexproof or Shroud does.
Is there anything else that mechanically complies in this set? Is there anything else we want to talk about here?
Mechanically, no. But let's talk about Mystical Archives.
Oh, man. More Happy Storm player noises.
Happy every player noises. Dude, Natural Order is the cheapest it's ever been.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude.
Time Warp got a reprint here, dude.
Yeah, man. Like, talk about a home run, slam dunk, touchdown, goal. Good God. Like, Yes, all of the yes, all of the time. Wizards has a reprint problem. You need to reprint more stuff. The cards are expensive. We want to play the game. We can't play the game if your cards are expensive and inflation is kicking us in the balls. We're just not going to buy your product because we can't afford to because we're buying the cards and not the product. So what do? You put a bunch of really, 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 really good cards in the product as one in every pack, and guess what? I've bought more Strixhaven than just about any other standard set from this block of sets, simply just because like, hey, I want to see what I get as a Mystical Archive. I'm at Walmart, I'm grocery shopping, I want to buy a pack, Strixhaven because Mystical Archive.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Mystical Archives are what the lottery cards were, but done right.
Yeah.
They're in every pack guaranteed. Okay, you got an uncommon that's standard legal from the Mystical Archive section. Okay, yeah. But your next pack, you might get that rare.
Yeah.
If you're really lucky, you get that Time Warp.
Yeah, you get the Mythic. I definitely love Mystical Archives, but it needs to be dialed in just a little bit better. Think about Mystical Archives as being like a master set in a standard legal pack.
Aurian Faceless Looting, like the art is on point with these two. Like, like the art is so good here. I can't believe how good it is.
Oh my God.
And the Japanese art.
Oof. Oh my God, dude. So here's the thing. I've only ever bought 2 collector boxes ever. One for Commander Legends and one for Strixhaven. With those Japanese cards where you just juiced up those packs, yeah, I shelled out the money for a collector box.
Oh man,
and
so beautiful.
How excited were people for those cards? People who don't play standard and like the old legacy players and the whales and stuff like that.
It introduced stuff into modern that just wasn't there before.
Yeah, there's also that, but also like Mystical Archives kind of hit everybody's sweet spot. I think
it did really well there.
I definitely think Wizards needs to figure out how to do Mystical Archives. Maybe not every set, but like at least one set every year. There should be like a Mystical Archives type of premiere set where this is the archive set for the year. Here you go. And it's like we go, yay, wee! And everybody's happy, and then you go back to normal standard.
Yeah, they rolled it a D20 and got a nat 20 on it.
AFR.
The Forgotten Realms.
All right. AFR it's an interesting beast because we've already been talking about it. I don't exactly know how to feel about AFR altogether. Overall, I like it. I like what they did with the set. It was unique. I like Wizards taking risks. I like them doing weird things and seeing if maybe it pays off. Because if Magic stayed safe and boring, then I just wouldn't enjoy it anymore. Like, I don't want every other set. All right, we're going to go to Ravnica, and then we're going to go to Innistrad, and then we're going to go to Dominaria, and then, next year we're going to go to Zendikar, and then we're going to go back to Ravnica. Please, can we go back to Alara? For fuck's sake. Can we go see what Lorwyn looks like now? Stop playing everything super safe. I don't want super safe. I want interesting. And AFR is interesting.
The problem with the AFR, though, is like some of the mechanics are just like not necessary. I don't like the dice rolling.
Yeah, the dice rolling
was included, but I guess this is why this is the set to include it in.
Yeah, great. It's more fucking shit that I have to drag to the LGS with me. My fucking accessories box wasn't full enough. Thanks, Obama. I mean, Wizard of the Coast.
Just on the flip side, you could just download a dice roller app on your phone.
Yeah, but like, I don't want to have to. I don't want a bunch of extra junk to go with my Magic. We already got tokens. We already got our life total dice and stuff like that. Keep it to a minimum. I don't want to have a fucking box set of all of your Magic the Gathering accessories, and it's a fucking giant case.
Because like, play a board game at that point.
Yeah, I don't want to play a board game. I'm playing Magic, which is a card game.
Actually, you might as well go play D&D at that point, because...
Yeah.
So, are there any mechanics that we do like about this? Like, dice rolling seems to kind of be our problem mechanic here.
Yeah.
It's the party, and it's the,
well, it's the lack...
boast of this set.
Yeah. So, my problem with the dice rolling... I didn't hate the D20 aspect in the main AFR set. The part where you lost me was the weird dice in the commander decks. I had to go buy a box of the D&D standard dice for my LGS, and like I said, thanks, more crap I gotta drag with me to the LGS.
You don't own D6s?
I own some D6s, sure, but like I'm talking about like the weird dice that they made you roll, like the D8s and the D12s and the 4 and stuff like that. It's like you should have stuck to the D20. At worst, you can just use a spin down. You gave us D20, randomized D20s in the pre-release packs. So you held up your end of the bargain on the pre-release kits, right? You screwed us over on the commander decks by not including dice in the packaging with those decks. So that pisses me off.
Moving away from like what we don't like, can we talk about some stuff we do like here?
Class enchantments.
Oh yeah, flavor wins so hard here.
Yeah, dude, it was.
Monk is good. Sorcerer is good.
Wizards is good. Wizards is literally just a fucking another reliquary
so
tower, or library ling if you want to use that one. The class enchantments were so cool. I really liked those. They're not without their critiques though.
Yeah, I think one of my biggest ones with them is like some of the effects were kind of lackluster for what they're doing.
Well, yeah, and like the other thing for me, the big sticking point with some of them was the one-off effects, where it just triggers and then it does something. I want my enchantments to run in the background of the game, right? It's running, it's doing its thing, it's buffing my creatures, it's a static ability, and I don't have to think about it because it's there. I don't want a one-off trigger from my level up. I want to level up and get another static effect, and then it keeps doing the thing I want.
Yeah, I understand that. And then, what do you think of the level up mechanic on it?
Well, it's a little too steep in some aspects, and the fact that you can only do it at sorcerer speed, it was just like it's too much of a drawback. And especially with the one-time trigger things, like if you're gonna do a one-time trigger as a level up, let me do it at instant speed and make sure, and then you just design it to where it's not this like super game-breaking thing that you can do at instant speed by leveling up your enchantment. Make it like a good response tactic in the game, which is what instant speed stuff is supposed to do. It's what one-off triggers are supposed to do.
I think the best one was actually Druid class as far as the one-off ability, because you still got a permanent on the battlefield. It just turned your land into a creature.
Yeah.
I'm an arena player, so like for me, I play a lot of Historic Brawl, and that's kind of my commander light when I don't have anyone to play with.
Yeah.
So I get to play around with shit I don't normally get to do, and Druid class kind of works out as a nice little extra ramp effect if you're willing to pay the 3 mana to get the extra land per turn.
I like the level up mechanic from, Zendikar and stuff, and here it's just kind of the same idea, maybe executed better.
I mean, I think one thing they could have done is included an effect that allows you to level up at instant speed.
Yeah.
And notice this doesn't use the level up counter. This is actually like...
It's literally just stacks on the abilities onto what the card already does.
It's almost like a fusion between a Saga and a level up effect from Rise of the Eldrazi.
Exactly.
I think we should continue venturing on here. What do we want to talk about next?
I think it's time to crawl into a dungeon.
Oh, yeah. I think I have a complaint about this.
Okay.
Venture is very confusing.
Yeah.
We just had the mechanic Adventure from Thrones of Eldraine very, very briefly for about a 3-month window. They're in standard at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Like, don't put venture into the same game as a mechanic called adventure. Because, like, you could just stumble over your words and you're like, I'm going to play this venture. All right, you're going to go into a dungeon. No, I'm going to play this adventure side of this creature. To call it venture, that was an incredibly stupid idea from a linguistic standpoint, because there's a million other things you could have called it. You could have just called it dungeon crawl.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, you could have saved Adventure for literally the Dungeons & Dragons set. You can't tell me you weren't planning the set long before 2021. Like,
yeah, that gets into speculation, and I don't know. You're a D&D player, Chris. You could probably come up with a bunch of better names for it.
Oh, geez. Quest would have been a good mechanic name for it.
Yeah, but I like Quest. They should have just called it, I'm going to Quest, and then everybody knows they're going to go move through the dungeon.
They already have quest counters, though. That kind of creates a problem there, too.
Well, it's not an actual keyword, like a keyword ability.
But it does create confusion, and this is kind of the thing. Like, we already had a D&D set in Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, it's called
Zendikar. Like, why do we need this Eller one?
Right.
The Eller thing, though, is like, this would have been a missed opportunity if they didn't include it. This set is literally Dungeons and Dragons, Adventures in the Forgotten Realm.
Wee, dragons, happy dragon noises, rar XD.
Oh yeah, Dragon Tribal is so supported here, and like Dragon just kind of wet his pants with excitement here.
Yeah, really he saw Tiamat, it's like, I want a piece of that ass.
Oh yeah.
So anyways, Dragon Tribal, that was rad.
I think we do have to address that, dungeons can slow the game down.
Yes.
Players can be indecisive. They might take a while picking their dungeon initially. And worse yet, when you get to the branching paths, they might take a while picking their rooms.
Exactly. They
It
got
was smart to only do 3 dungeons.
Very much.
Any
yes.
more, it would have been really bad.
Yeah, because then you got to sit there and read through all your options. Yeah, it's going to be really hard to add dungeons to this mechanic. Going forward, I think a smart way to do it, if you want to add dungeons to the mechanic in the future, you have to do it in sets. And you have to, like, okay, you can play with the AFR set, you can play with the Commander Legends set, or you can play with some other future Dungeons & Dragons set. Like, there's sets of 3, you can only play with those 3 if you choose to play with dungeons. That way, you can add dungeons to the game without having it pile up on itself.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I think that would be a very intuitive way to go about dungeons in the future, is have them in sets of 3, and you can only pick one set.
I think we should be moving on from dungeons now.
We've crawled through that dungeon to its completion.
I think we should talk about some of the monsters. Maybe some pack tactics, actually.
Ooh. This feels very, very Gruul. I'm here for it.
Oh, and it should be a future Gruul mechanic, like, whenever we get a chance to see it.
Very much so. The only thing you should change with pack tactics is it should, like how you work with Ward, where you dial it up or you dial it down. Pack tactics should work where, for like the really super like beefy chunky boy bonuses, it's a higher power level that triggers pack tactic and you get a nicer effect. But then you can dial it down for some early game and it's like, okay, pack tactics. If you swing with 2 power, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on a dude. Then later on in the game, it's like, hey, if you swing with, power, 10 or greater, you get a big boy chonky effect.
Yeah, this kind of ties into the ferocity mechanic a little bit, because its power matters, and this is something Gruul really likes to do.
Yes. It flavorfully matters. It's very flavorful,
Oh.
just like flavor words.
These are fun, simple, and they're definitely a flavor win. I just really like the way they did it. Seeing Flurry of Blows on Monk of the Open Hand is just chef's kiss. Mwah.
Mwah.
So good. Like, incredible flavor there.
Yeah.
I think this is something that we need to see more often. I don't know where they could put it, but maybe Dave has an idea or two on what they could do with this.
Yeah, I really want to see these in Commander products, in specifically like the precons and stuff like that. You can put the flavor words on characters from like one-off planes to like show like, hey, that's what this character is doing. You can do a Nico Bolas, and you can do a flavor word, extort your allies. And then it reads out exactly what's going on, what you're doing, really showing that like he's double crossing somebody. It's the kind of thing I don't want to see all the time in Magic sets. It's like a really, really, really rich piece of chocolate cake. You enjoy it when you eat it, but if you had it too much, you get sick of it real quick. So I think flavor words are something that you really got to balance out very carefully going forward.
Yeah, I feel like overall this is a common trend. It's a polarizing set. And it's something we don't want to see all the time. It just simply needs to be a one-and-done type deal, and maybe, I know they're doing D&D Beyond, so maybe they can just, like, shuffle that all that way after it's here.
Yeah.
It's a little too much of a good thing, can leave a bad taste in your mouth. But it's time to venture out of this dungeon, before Dave carries on for another 45 minutes.
Did that dungeon smell like weed to you, Chris?
You asking me because weed's legal in Canada now?
No, it's legal here in California too, you dork.
Anyways, I'm Galaza Chris Mari.
And I'm Dave, Guru of S'mores. Thank you for spending some time with us.
And thanks for watching.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah, Dave.
What do you call eating cookies at instant speed?
I don't know, Dave. What do you call it?
Fidelkin Oreos.
Josh is going to be so mad at you.